director gave me the go-ahead. I'm going to go ahead and go. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, thank you very much for seeing me this evening. My name is Seth Young. I'm the executive director of the Augusta Heritage Center, lifelong resident of Elkins, West Virginia, as are my parents, as is one of my grandparents. The other's from Parsons, but she spent a lot of time here, so we kind of consider her from Elkins as well. I want to keep you abreast on a couple developments that have happened in recent months with the Augusta Heritage Center, as well as give you a little bit of vision for the future of what we'd like to accomplish. And it does heavily involve our downtown Elkins. For those that may not be familiar, I feel like I'm preaching the choir on this side over here. You guys, I might turn to Councilwoman Gay and Councilman Hinchman here. Augusta was formed in 1973 by an organization called the Randolph County Creative Council. And the Creative Council had a hand in many projects that we still feel the effects of to this day. In fact, that council set forth the conditions that EACT was born out of, that Playhouse was born out of, and that the Augusta Heritage Center was born out of. In 1981, the Randolph County Creative Council transferred control of the Augusta Heritage Center to Davis and Elkins College. It went directly under their 501c3. That's when Margot Blevin was hired. And when you hear theme weeks around the world, blank week, that owes an homage to Margot. Margot started all that, and the organization was highly prosperous during this time, inviting thousands of participants from all over the world. Augusta remained under the 501c3 of Davis and Elkins College for many, many years. In fact, until just recent months. During the shutdown and during the pandemic, I worked very closely with the board of Davis and Elkins College, as well as the executive team, the president, the executive vice president, the vice president for business administration, to restructure our arrangement that we had. And where we felt the best solution to some of the challenges that faced us was for Augusta to form its own 501c3 in a partnership with Davis and Elkins College, but also in partnership with other organizations as well. So I'm happy to say we are a separate 501c3. We have a transition plan to transition from the college over the course of the next year and a half. We have our own separate board. Our board consists of Jack Tribble, Rob Nestor, Beth King, Jerry Milnes, Kyle West, June Miles, and Joan Fenton. Joan's the only out-of-towner on the board, but she did start Blues Week in 1981, so we do value her insight. Our model moving forward is multifaceted, but I want to start with our physical project that we have going on. We have signed a purchase agreement on the Wilt building in downtown Elkins with an eye on renovating the Wilt building and bringing it back to its full life. Now, I don't have to tell anybody here what a seminal piece of property the Wilt building is in downtown Elkins and how much it means to the health of commerce in downtown Elkins. I want to tell you that first and foremost, we're community driven in this endeavor. And so I'd like to share with you a little bit of a vision, if you will. And I'm just going to do this with words. I didn't bring any PowerPoint presentations or anything with me today because I think that you all have lived here long enough that you could maybe vision in your mind with me a little bit, if you will. So, the Wilt building is 4 floors, mixed-use building. The bottom floor would remain commercial. The colloquially called the Kissel Stop space would remain a restaurant. Then we would have two spaces downstairs for commercial endeavors. One side would be retail. It would also display a portion of the Augusta collection and a portion of the Darby collection. The space next door would be an event space, and all of this would be joined so that you could flow from one space to the next. We were just down in Taylor Books down in Charleston. We thought, man, if the Wilt building had a flow like Taylor Books, what would that do for the building? The second floor would remain, or would be our administrative offices and classroom space. We're placing high priority on year-round programming for the community in which we serve. we're very happy to announce that we recently were awarded $50,000 from an organization called Chorus America. That they got funding from the Cargill Foundation, and they awarded 22 projects in both the U.S. and Canada. And we're very happy that Augusta was one of those 22 projects. Ours is we're going to bring master culture bearers in from various cultures within the U.S. and the world to work with students in grades 3 through 5 in Randolph County schools next year for the Elkins area-based schools. It's going to impact over 600 kids. We're going to bring a Cuban artist in, a Bulgarian artist, a gospel artist, and an Appalachian ballad singer. And these students are going to study those singing traditions. They're going to have a dress rehearsal at the college where we're going to feed them foods from the cultures that they're studying. And they'll have a couple performances. The crowd's going to be so large that we split up into 2 performances. And the community members are going to be treated to foods from the cultures that the students have studied, to have a large community event at the end. Now, this is the type of programming that we want to seek, bring in year-round. There are foundations that are highly energized to work with this type of programming. There are granting agencies that are highly energized to work with this type of programming. And we see year-round classroom space upstairs being utilized for school-age children's programming, family programming, creative aging programming, and programming that appeals to the tourists that are visiting our town for a short time to ride the train, that we would like to give them a reason to stay another night in Elkins. And so workshops that appeal to our train demographic would be something that we would be running as well. Upstairs would remain residential. Our first priority in that residential space is to try to fill that with community-minded folks that are in active civic engagement. So that would mean our AmeriCorps members. I don't know if you guys are aware, but AmeriCorps has an immense housing crisis for what those serving members can get on the stipend that they receive. So along with our Dave Clark here from Woodlands, we've been able to come up with a pro forma on the building, and we've hit that sweet spot for where AmeriCorps members would be able to afford housing in the upstairs wilt. We also would like to give emerging artists a juried in type of arrangement, where if they get juried in, they get commission-free gallery space in the retail space downtown. An Augusta-occupied wilt building would invite walk traffic from our main tourist attraction, the downtown train, further into our downtown. An Augusta Blade sign, heck, there could even be an Augusta and Elkins sign on top of the building, visible from 219 and 33 as you pull in, is walkable from the train depot. You stand at the train depot, you see it, there's a display, there's action. Once you get to that corner, you're within a sight line of probably about 75 to 80% of downtown businesses. You look up and down, you look straight ahead, and you can see where the action's at. That's why I think this renovation and this project is so important. I call it Turn the Corner. It invites people to literally walk from the train depot down and turn the corner. I was privileged enough to act on the Polar Express for a couple of years. One of the reasons I did that is because it was a fabulous tourist attraction, and I didn't know that much about it. I was lucky enough to have a role in which I could create many focus groups out of my tables without them notice that I was doing it. Where are you from? What are you doing? What are you doing afterwards? Where are you going? Where are you headed to? What brings you here? And I was surprised by how many folks reported that they drove from a long way away, over an 8-hour drive. What are you doing afterwards? Well, we're going to get the first couple hours on the road before we go ahead and stay in a hotel and drive the rest of the way tomorrow. Wouldn't it be great to give these people a reason to stay until the next day, to have something for their families to do right there in downtown? As the Tiger pops back to life, this could be a great partnership. Right now, Augusta is partnering with many other organizations, and one I want to talk about in particular is our state parks. We're running programming at Cass this October we have what we call our October Old Time Retreat. The superintendent was generous enough to put all the company housing that Cass has on hold for us so that we can register participants in to those rooms this October. In November, and I think I'm allowed to say this out loud now, we're bringing Irish music back to Augusta. We're contracted with a longtime Irish Week coordinator, Mick Maloney. We have a hold on all rooms at Blackwater Falls State Park, and so the very next weekend, we'll be at Blackwater Falls running an American-Irish retreat up there. This business model, and I don't know, I might have to have everybody on the live stream sign a NDV or something like that. Where it can help Elkins out is, first of all, we want to have all roads lead back. So there's the Wilt Building, there's our outreach programming using state parks and resorts and other facilities, and that leads all roads back to Elkins to study with us. Now, how do we fill up our hotel rooms right here in Elkins? Our tourism has some pretty monstrous shoulder seasons associated with it. We've got some great months, July, October. These months are in the bag. But there's some other months that get pretty dicey. And so what Augusta is really good at is approaching these entities and asking them when they're not selling their rooms. And then when they're not selling their rooms, let's target that, run programming there, and sell this place out in a time that otherwise you might be sitting on a goose egg. And so as the Tigert pops open, I should have mentioned this, our first programming in 1973 was at the Tigert Hotel. Isn't that serendipitous? As the Tigert pops open and we work with the Holiday Inn Express, the Wyndham, the Isaac Jackson, and other area hotels, we target those areas in which they're not really getting that intrinsic natural tourist swing through, and we can take those weekends and turn them into big weekends, create programming around them. Now, the city of Elkins benefits from this model, not just in the tax revenue, but in the attraction of business into our downtown, increased walk traffic, increased vibrancy, and this is very much a rising tide lifts all boats situation. So, I'm here to ask the council and the city for their support and advocacy in this endeavor. We have several funders already lined up. We have several funders that we're in the process of applications and speaking with. The Benedum Foundation is very interested in this project. They're going to be down here in August looking at it. We're working with the West Virginia Department of Arts, Culture, and History, the SHPO grants, Opportunity Appalachia, and attracting investors to this property, and also the Federal Home Loan Bank. We just did show the property to them, and they were highly energized by the vision. We also have around $250,000 in private donations secured right now. That's ahead of any kind of mass announcement, which we're in the process of doing at this time. So we feel like the gap is very promising to close that with some private donations. But along the way, we have support from foundations that are working with a multitude of states. We have support from the state itself, governmental agencies, and also auxiliary programming. And I would love to say that a part of this portfolio was support from the city of Elkins. So any advocacy we could garner, or any eye for opportunity, I'll say this, we're very hawkish with how we go about finding our funding. This is the attitude that brought those $50,000 to be able to work with elementary school children next year. We're not asking for someone to do the work for us. We're asking for you to work elbow to elbow in the trenches to make our downtown a better place to live and more attractive to downtown business. I'd like to thank you guys very much for your time, and with the remainder of what I have here today, I would be happy to entertain any questions you may have about any portion of what I've said today.
Any questions?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Since I missed the first part, you're looking at being in the Wilt Building, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, all right, that's what I thought. Yeah. So, and when you're talking advocacy, you know, I always like to shout out Augusta whenever possible because I think it's super cool and it is an asset to our community. You know, is there a specific way we can be advocates? Just keep talking it up, or?
Yeah, certainly. Anytime you identify a funding source.
Yeah, gotcha.
In which the Wilt Building could be a potential applicant, I would love for you to send that my way. I would also welcome any kind of one-on-one conversations about ways that make this happen. We think that there's probably going to be about 6 to 9 funding sources that would need to be brought in to make this turn into a reality. We're getting close, but we need to push it over the edge. And so any help we could have pushing it over the edge. We estimate it's going to be about a $4 million project, all said and done. About 1.9 million of that will generate in historic tax credits. So we're putting together the capital stack to get that project completed, get those tax credits transferred, and open up the Wilt Building for business.
Cool, yeah, I'll definitely keep you guys in mind.
I just want to thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
For the ability to
Awesome.
speak.
What's your email address?
What's that?
Your email?
My email is young, SYOUNGS, at DEW, as in Davis, Elkins, West Virginia, .edu. In about a year, that'll change. But for right now, that's where it is.
Okay.
And I want to tell you, I should mention this in your advocacy as well. You know, and I'll speak on mic in case it makes any difference for the live feed. There are words to use to describe this restructuring, and there are words not to use. This is not a breakup from the college. It is not a split. It isn't we're parting to go our separate ways. We wanted to form this partnership to bring the strengths of both organizations, to allow them to grow to fruition, and we have different challenges that are kind of facing us moving in the future. One of the primary of which is there are grant funding sources and foundation funding sources that work perfectly with Augusta's existing programming. The problem is that some of those have a stipulation that colleges and universities are not able to apply for those funding sources. So one of the big ones is allowing us to go after everything that we can go after. And then also creating other partnerships with our state parks, which is very natural. They're looking for dynamic programming. We're looking for places to do dynamic programming at. So we have found the state parks very welcoming. Also resorts, you know, resorts also have those shoulder seasons, and so they're also very welcoming to us when we're running programming in times that are just on the cusp of when they're being able to fill their places to capacity.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's so exciting to hear about this. I think it'll be a real asset for downtown and just for the community and for all of us who have loved Augusta ever since we arrived. And you can hear on our front porch musicians playing their instruments all throughout our neighborhood, and it's just such an integral part of our identity. So this is exciting, exciting news. Thank you so much.
Well, I invite you all up to a dance or a concert to check it out for yourself. We'll have concerts every Tuesday and Thursday between July 10th and July 28th. We'll have dances in the pavilion most of those nights. If you come up any night July 10th during Cajun Week, you'll experience what I call a Midsummer Night's Dream in the Augusta Dance Pavilion. We'll also have the Augusta Block Party on July 30th. That's also the Augusta Festival in the City Park that same day. That'll get hundreds of people into town, and we've got some really great acts, workshops, craft vendors, food, all that kind of stuff lined up. So pop over to the park on July 30th if you don't get a chance to make it to the campus, or do everything and take advantage of it all. All right, thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Seth.
Thanks, Seth.
All right, I'm now going to call this meeting of the Elkins Common Council to order. It is 7:44. We have one agenda adjustment that will appear later. Is anyone here for public comment? Sir, if you can state your name and address, please, and is this something that appears on our agenda this evening?
I don't believe so.
Okay, then I'll need to ask council's permission.
My name is Robert Grandelsky.
Sir, I'll need to ask the council's permission for you to speak on a topic that's not on our agenda this evening.
Ma'am,
It's, okay.
I have an 80% hearing loss in this here due to gunshots.
Okay. I can speak up if you need.
Thank you.
I just need for the council's permission for you to speak on a topic if it does not appear on our agenda, which I don't hear any objection, so you can proceed. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Robert Grandusky, Grandusky. I live at the Elkins Manor, 100 Tallman Avenue here in Elkins. I belong to the American Legion, among several other things. My concern, well, Shakespeare once said, or talked about, a poor player who struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. I think maybe in a way that's what I can relate to. That's the way I feel kind of tonight. I don't know many of you. I don't know that I know any of you. Rachel? Is that her? That's
Yes.
Rachel? I met her the other day. She helped me out here in the elevator. I've had operations on both my knees and things, and I looked at the stairs and I said, oh, brother, I don't think I can do that. As much as I need to attend that city council meeting, I don't think that I can do that. And then they introduced me to the elevator, and it was wonderful. On as early as October 2019, the American Legion had a grievous wrong done to it. Many of the people who attend are handicapped. They have placards. A few of them don't have limbs. It's the way it is. It's the way war is. As October 19, Mike Cardinal appeared before City Council. And the topic was the parking spaces in front of the Railroad Avenue door to the American Legion. He said basically that they would be used for loading and unloading zone. This isn't what it was about. This was an error on Mr. Cardinal's part. We have Joe Harmon. I don't know if you know Joe. A lot of you might. He's a wonderful fellow. He's in charge of the Little Arlington Cemetery. Joe is having a terrible time walking anymore. There's several people that are needing parking spaces where me too, can come in to the Legion to socialize, to go to meetings and things, and to And it's an important thing. I hate to say it, but sometimes I think the Legion is, to some of them, about everything that they have left. I would really, I have letters from October 2019 to July 2020. I can't believe it's been that long since those spaces were lost, but just all of a sudden one day, crews came down and painted the curb yellow. Our spaces were lost. A lady the other day was parked in front of the Legion on Railroad Avenue, and her husband was in a wheelchair. He had gone inside to attend a meeting, and it was a short meeting, but she was parked in front of the Legion with her flashers on. And I know that the people probably were within their right to be able to go ahead and tell her, stop by, ask her what she was doing there, and she explained about her husband, and he would be probably another 5 minutes, and they said, basically to her, they said, well, we can't give you much more time than 5 minutes or we're going to have to ticket you. I mean, those Legionnaires depend on those spaces. And I'd like to return to City Council and talk to about some other spaces across on 4th Street in the city parking lot. It was promised actually by Mayor Van Broughton that these spaces would be given over for the veterans to use also. It's not very often that we would go ahead and need the spaces. It's not something that the city council back when said that there was maybe a safety concern, a safety issue. I can't imagine what that would be. To my knowledge and the people that I've talked to, there has never been a car hit, person hit, any reason at all why those spaces can't be safe. They're safe. So anyway, that's basically what I've come here for this evening, to ask you to please reconsider. Please give those spaces back to the Legion. And we need some handicap parking close by our doors so we can let the Legionnaires who can't walk all that well, who are handicapped and things, they need the spaces. And that's the reason I've come here this evening. I thank you all for your time. I thank you all for listening to me. And I wish that I had the speaking ability of the gentleman that just left. My goodness, he's a talker. I mean,
We all do.
He's wonderful. I envy him. Oh my golly. But anyway, that's the reason I've come this evening. And I hope, really hope and pray pray that you all will reconsider and return the spaces to the veterans.
Thank you, sir. Moving down to the minutes proposed for the regular council meeting of June the 2nd, 2022.
So move.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. In your packets, you had the recently issued building permits, a treasurer's report, and approved minutes of committee, commission, and board meetings. And we've had our presentations this evening. So we'll move down to committee reports. Councilwoman Guy, anything to report this evening?
No report.
Councilman Hinchman?
Yes, Finance met yesterday, and we went over the budget revision for FY 222 and also the sanitation budget revisions and state budget revisions, and we'll be discussing them more tonight. Next meeting was changed to July the 5th at 1 o'clock.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Higgins?
I have no report.
Thank you. Councilor Ross Fregonera?
Yes, just wanted to remind people, since we won't be meeting at our regularly scheduled time, that the Comp House is having its open house on the 25th and the 26th, and I hope you all will come, especially those that have not seen the Comp House in a while. We received a grant from the West Virginia Humanities Council and have been working very diligently on creating interpretive panels, and we'll have lots of wonderful wedding gowns and really highlight the historic importance of Governor Kump. So I invite you to that. And then we were given a very extensive calendar for the upcoming comprehensive plan amendment adoption schedule and for the Elkins zoning ordinance enactment schedule. So I remind you all to take a look at those documents that Sutton has put online, and advise any of your constituents to do the same. The first meeting that I have lined up will be a Planning Commission public hearing for the comprehensive plan amendment adoption, and that's July 18th. So it's a little complicated, so use this wonderful document that Jessica put together often. The Rules and Ordinance Committee met last week, or was that this week? It's all a blur. And we are working on outdoor dining regulations right now. So we look for a special call meeting. Our next meeting, in which we will be doing sort of a final review of that, would be, we did move it, didn't we?
23rd, I think so. I think it was the 23rd.
Okay. All right. Thursday the 23rd. And I think that's it for me.
Just as a follow-up to your comments, paper copies of the study and report on zoning and the draft ordinance are available both in my office at City Hall and also at the library's temporary location.
Oh, great. Great.
Councilor Kwanzo?
Thank you.
Thank you. Municipal Properties has been canceled for this month, and so will resume in July.
Councilor, can you speak into your microphone?
I
Can
am.
hear you. Just a little closer. We can't hear you.
Hello.
That's better. Thank you.
So July 20th will be the next Municipal Properties meeting, and Tree Board will be on July 5th. And this Friday, the 17th of June, I'm sure you all want to come. Just bring your post hole diggers and your shovels and such, and come to the Comp House. We're going to be doing a cleanup over there and redoing the fencing and working on the nursery. So we're hoping to have some volunteers there, and think that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Parker?
Public safety met this past Monday. We did not have any action items, but we did a really good update on where we are on demolitions. The number of properties to be dealt with is greater. It greatly exceeds our remaining budget for this year. We have 2 properties we're looking at. One is potentially going to have to be dealt with by the city, and the other pretty certainly will be. And those properties, because of the asbestos content, are going to be very expensive to deal with. We're looking at about $42,000 a pop on those. We have some other simpler projects that we're also working along on, but we continue to move forward, and that's the good news. We've not taken any steps back. I did share with the Public Safety Committee that Chief Bennett and I have had some really substantial conversations about the school safety issues. They do not pertain, in a sense, to the way our police department is trained up and equipped. Our department is extremely well trained, and the kind of tragic communications breakdown, team paralysis that occurred in Texas, I can say with great certainty would not happen here. And it really goes to the point of when the chief spoke with this council about helping to fund the training of some officers from other departments, and those departments did not have the money to send their guys to the coordinated training. And we did provide for that. The city did provide for that. And so all the departments in the region with whom we partner most directly are trained together. They understand all the dimensions of their response together. And so, I mean, from that point of view, I think we're really pretty good. Think so, Chris?
Absolutely, sir.
And the other piece that the chief and I talked about is that in almost every one of these situations, whether the shooters have been young people or more mature adults, these people who have this sort of harbor whatever resentments drive them to all this mess and insanity, almost to a person, they post on social media before they act out. And we are looking at how to approach that to really help the community to get their minds around the fact that we do need to be watching and we need to pay attention to our kids if our kids say something. And we are going to be working to put in place a mechanism so that anybody can report to one number at any time, and they will get a courteous and professional hearing, and that will move directly on to the channels where it needs to go to be acted upon. We have as partners in this, and I don't think I speak prematurely, the Northern District Attorney's Office of Justice Department. I've spoken with Stacy Bishop about this. She's a rep from them, and she has met with us on the task force in the past, and she's extremely responsive to this, and we will be working together to really put together a community engagement program. I mean, we've got to get it in people's heads. And as Chief Bennett has said, you know, maybe one of the most dangerous things we do, we all take for granted. We live in this wonderful place that in so many ways is just almost idyllic. And we think we're safe. It's not going to happen here. And we can't do that. Unfortunately, we can't do that. So anyway, I'm not going to preach any longer, but the chief and I are working on this, and I do intend to keep everybody posted on that.
Thank you, Counselor. We'll move down to our staff reports. Chief Himes?
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple quick things I wanted to report on. We have some training scheduled, some in the immediate future, some down the road a bit. We are hoping to get Mid-Atlantic Rescue Systems in town to provide some swiftwater rescue training for our members. This next weekend coming up, we have a class on elevators. We run elevator calls pretty frequently, and having taught many Firefighter 1 courses over the last 15 years, there's in 1,158 pages of instructional material, there's about 3 paragraphs on elevators and 1 PowerPoint slide, so it's not very helpful. I've got a guy that's coming up from Braxton County to give us a little introduction, hoping to lead into a full 2-day class down the road. My safety tip for the evening, given our wonderful weather today, it looks like it's going to continue tomorrow and Thursday, is you hear everybody on the newscasters and the Weather Channel talking about turn around, don't drown, okay, about driving through water. I just want to stress to everybody, when you're in your car, you don't really know how deep that water is, all right? 1/4 to 1/2 inch will cause you to hydroplane, and 6 inches will make your car float. So take that into consideration. If that water's moving and it's over 6 inches, your car will float away. So it's hard to stop a 2,000-pound raft floating away in floodwaters. So heed those warnings. Anybody have any questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Judy?
Good evening. In your package, you have the monthly report for May. If you notice on there, there's an item highlighted that basically states that we are below what we had budgeted for by a little over $5,000. It will not affect our overall revenues for the general fund. We will have a more detailed of the revenues and expenditures 60 days after the fiscal year end, but the general fund will finish in good shape. I've had 3 meetings with Invoice Cloud. As you may recall, the state legislature is requiring all municipalities and counties to have online bill pay for everything that the city bills. I hope to have a decision approved by council for whatever company we go with in August, because it will be a minimum of a 3 to 4 month implementation, so it can connect into our governmental software that we have. And then finally, I think for our first, I've provided our mod analysis for our workers' comp. I don't think that's ever been done before. Our E-mod has dropped a little bit, so it gives you some good information, some history over the last 5 years. So our premium this year is anticipated to be $71,649. They will come in usually in August and do, workers' comp will do an audit and then make any adjustments after that. That's all I have this evening. Anybody have any questions? All right.
Thank you. Anything to report, Sergeant Boatwright?
I do not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Sampson is not with us this evening, and neither is our chief wastewater operator. Both send their apologies. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to them directly. We'll move down to the approval of vendor invoice payments for the period of May 31st to June the 10th.
I move we pay the AP.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Moving down to new business, we have Resolution 1534, grant request of Randolph County Development Authority for the city to agree to transfer of responsibility for portions of Industrial Park Road and Riverbend Park Road to the West Virginia Division of Highways.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any questions or comments?
I do have a couple questions, if anybody knows. What does that mean for the city exactly? I'm guessing that, you know, the Department of Highways is going to be plowing that little bit. They're going to be paving it. Is there any downside to us relinquishing responsibility? Just a
It
question.
does, Glenn. According to Robbie Morris, who's sort of been our go-between on this, they will be taking care of pavement. And with that, of course, goes plowing. And we might even coax them into paving right up into Riverbend Park if they have a little asphalt left, which desperately needs it.
Mr. Morse was here present at the last meeting. He sends his apologies. He couldn't be here tonight, but he talked a little bit at public comment just about the project. I don't know if you were here.
Yeah, I was here for that, yeah.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 1535, grant request of Woodlands Development Group for permission to use the space in the Seneca Mall parking lot for the placement of a generator and transformer for the Tiger Hotel.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I do want to ask one on that one too. I took a look at the map and I don't know, is it going to be taking up any potential parking spaces? Where's it going to go? I couldn't really tell on the map, so.
Okay. We can ask Mr. Clark to come
Yeah,
forward and
yeah,
talk
if you
about
would,
it.
please.
Sure, I can answer that. Yeah, the proposed location, of course, is right next to the dumpster that's already there and that's enclosed right now. It will take up a parking space. We chose that site because it's close to the building, obviously. The dumpster already encroaches on that parking, and at least anecdotally, we're told there's not a lot, it doesn't get a lot of use at all. So
Gotcha.
it seemed like the most logical place for it.
Gotcha.
I'll also follow up, just that I think you've had conversations with other property owners, business operators.
That's
that
right.
You have a lot of use of that parking lot, and they were okay with that.
Yeah, specifically, we've spoken with Katie Driver, who owns the building right next to the Tiger, and we've spoken with Kyle and Sydney West, who would be the most concerned about that parking, and they have no problems with us placing it there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 1536, General Fund Fiscal Year 22 Final Budget Revisions. Is there number 25 through 35?
So moved.
We have a motion. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 1537, Sanitation Fund Fiscal Year 22 Final Budget Revision. This is revision number 3.
Yeah, I have, has that been moved yet?
Not yet.
I'll move it.
Thank you.
And then I have a couple of questions in that regard. I know that Wendy is not here.
Could you use your microphone, Counselor? A little
I'm
closer.
wondering about, thank you, the hauling fees that we're looking at in that budget. Are we talking about the right budget here, Tracy?
This is the
Yes,
sanitation.
For sanitation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hauling fees are up 70%.
From what we've budgeted for, yes.
So I'm guessing that we probably budgeted for what we budgeted last year. Would that be fair?
I don't know if I have that. Let's see, I'll tell you that. I don't have the previous year. I would have to get back to you on that. Be happy to do that.
Yeah, that really is a heck of a jump. I mean, we're talking about a 70% increase on that. And then the contracted services is up $58,000.
Yes, that is Tigard Sanitation, and they did have a rate increase about a year ago. So that is up, yes.
Okay, so that's for the landfill.
Yes, that's for the transfer station, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then lastly, the uniforms, 25% increase. Is that just cost of living, or what are we looking at? Do you have any idea?
You'd have to talk to operations about that. I know they've added one other employee, but you would have to talk to operations. They're the ones that negotiate that contract. And that includes mats as well for that building.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to be chicken picking, but I'm just looking at some of these increases, and they appear to be fairly substantial. Okay, thank you, Tracy.
You're welcome.
And keep in mind, Counselor, too, that this is just moving money around within the sanitation budget. This is not taking money from any other departments.
That's a good distinction. Yeah, thank you for that.
Sure. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 1538, approval of budget revision 2022-001-06 for fiscal year 2022.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any questions or comments? Okay, this requires a roll call vote. I will ask our executive secretary to call roll, please.
Counselor Vest, absent. Counselor Hinchman,
Yes.
Counselor Kwanzo,
Yes.
Counselor Guy,
Yes.
Counselor Higgins,
Yes.
Counselor Lowther, absent. Counselor Parker,
Here, yes?
Counselor Bros Fregenera,
Yes.
Counselor Chenoweth, absent. Okay.
Thank you. Motion carries. Resolution 1539 is authorizing application to West Virginia COVID-19 Pandemic DR-4517-WV grant funding by the Elkins Sanitary Board. This resolution is going to be postponed until the July 7th meeting. I've been in conversations with Whitney Himes, Chief Wastewater Operator, who has been pursuing this opportunity. And because of some public notification that needs to be put out prior to council consideration, you can take this up at your July 7th meeting. Next is Resolution 1540, reauthorizing conditions of contract between Mitchell Tree Care LLC and Landscape Consulting LLC and the City of Elkins, and authorizing execution of contract.
So moved.
A motion, any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We are down to mayor's comments. The only comment I have is just to extend Mayor Marco's apologies for not being able to attend this evening. He was under the weather. And just to remind everybody that the applications for our second ward council vacancy will be accepted until the close of business this Friday.
Do we have any?
We do. All right, looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.